Xbox 2? PlayStation 5? There's no way those systems would get announced at this year's E3, right? A whole bunch of people are online right now talking about the Xbox 2 and the PlayStation 5 having some small announcement at this year's E3. Well, folks, that's kind of hoping for a lot, and maybe it might happen, but I just don't think it's going to be realistic. Right now, we're existing in a very interesting time in the video game industry. In the past, when companies would update their systems for just small little updates like maybe a bigger hard drive or things like that, well, those things happened and they extended the life of those platforms for a couple years. But when it comes to what Sony and Microsoft did recently with their consoles, we got really big upgrades. The PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One X are unlike anything we've ever got in the past, because not only can they play original games from the original systems that they are based off of, but they can also play those games in higher resolutions and better in most cases. And I don't think Microsoft or Sony are going to be jumping to make a whole new platform, at least so soon. Now, first off, let's talk about the PlayStation, because I think there's a couple reasons why they should do the PlayStation 5 first, and there's a couple reasons why I don't think they should. The PlayStation 4 is raking in the sales and selling tons and tons of software, and they don't really have a reason to kind of do anything when it comes to a PlayStation 5 because they're selling a lot of PlayStation 4s. And if they were to release a PlayStation 5, it would scare off a bunch of people from purchasing PlayStation 4s forward, and they probably wouldn't transition into PlayStation 5 sales. Now, if they were to release a new system, I firmly believe the PlayStation 5 will do everything the PlayStation 4 Pro does, and maybe even a little better. Right now, the PlayStation 4 just does checkerboard rendering up into 4K resolutions, but I believe the PlayStation 5 will naturally go to 4K resolutions and possibly remove that whole checkerboarding thing that you get with the PlayStation 4 Pro and run all those games natively at 4K at the proper frame rate and all that fun stuff. Now, if that happens, that's going to be pretty exciting, but I don't believe Sony's going to be running to it so quick, because typically when you release a new iteration of a system like a PlayStation 5, well, you're going to have games that are specific to that console that won't run on the PlayStation 4. So for me personally, I think it's not very likely that Sony is going to be doing any kind of PlayStation upgrade anytime soon outside of the PlayStation 4 Pro. Now, Microsoft, on the other hand, is even less likely to jump to an Xbox 2, mostly because, well, they just released the Xbox One X not that long ago, and the system still hasn't really been fully explored. We're seeing a whole bunch of really cool games come out on the platform that really make use of that hardware, but I just don't think Microsoft is really in the state right now to release a whole new system. Now, it's true, the Xbox platform isn't really selling the greatest, but I think if Microsoft focuses on the Xbox One X as their current platform and drives that along as we go, I think you'll see a lot more success with that platform as it happens and evolves, rather than jumping to a whole new platform. Because that means they're going to have to design a whole new system and attract a whole bunch of new people to buying that platform, and it's very unlikely that it would work. So I think Microsoft is better off staying with the Xbox One X for the next couple of years and not jumping to a whole new platform right away. Plus, I do believe that Sony is more likely to jump to the PlayStation 5 first, so if they do that, well, when that happens, maybe then they announce an Xbox 2. But until that really does become a thing, there's just no reason for them to make it happen. So we're kind of in an interesting stalemate when it comes to the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 having successor systems. Now, I do believe at some point, maybe next E3 or the E3 after that, we'll start to hear a little bit about those next systems. Maybe not showing off the consoles or stuff like that, but just giving an idea of what's capable. Now, maybe Microsoft and Sony will announce new systems, and if they do, they actually have games that run on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. Basically a game just like PlayStation 4 Pro and Xbox One X that runs on both platforms and just has a couple of upgrades and features that work better on the newer system, which I think is very, very likely. I doubt we're going to be seeing a whole new iteration of systems so soon, because these consoles are selling really well right now. At least the PlayStation is. Xbox still has a lot to go. And you know, the more I think about it, maybe it would be likely that Microsoft would release an Xbox 2, but I think it would be so close to what the Xbox One X is that nobody would really care. But, of course, when we're talking about video game consoles, there is one other company out there that is releasing a system that is doing really well, and maybe they might upgrade their system soon. Let's talk a little bit about the Switch. Now, the Nintendo Switch isn't that old of a system, and to see an update come out of it so soon is a little bit crazy, but I don't think it's impossible. I believe that Nintendo may update the system, but in a couple of ways. Now, we already did a video talking about that whole standalone system without the dock that they're going to be releasing, but I think that there's actually something that may happen internally that may change in maybe the next couple of months. I think it's very realistic to assume that in the next couple of months, Nintendo may announce and may even release a Nintendo Switch that has more memory. And this isn't because they're not selling enough Switches, I just think they need to do it in order to keep software sales going forward. The Nintendo Switch still has a problem with memory because it simply doesn't have enough space inside of it. I don't think they're going to change the processor, I don't think they're going to change the graphics or anything like that, but just adding more internal memory means that people that just buy the system straight off the shelf are more likely to buy a bunch of games digitally, and I think that could benefit Nintendo a lot. So what do you think is going to happen? Do you think Nintendo is ever going to upgrade the Nintendo Switch with more memory, or are they just not going to do it because it sells so well? Do you think Sony is going to announce a PlayStation 5 at next year's E3? And do you think Microsoft is ever going to announce an Xbox 2, or whatever the heck they're going to call it? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be reading.